All right, guys. Welcome to our now our weekly comic book debate, if you can call it that. Right. Today's debate is something that me and Jason have butted heads on. Admittedly. Recently, Miracleman has been re-released, digitally remastered by Marvel, and it's come out in two editions. Okay, I've already mentioned before that my issue originally was that they sell for really expensive but there's no digital edition to it.
And I completely agree with him on this.
It's so
unfair.
it's unfair. I mean, you're spending that much amount of money. Why are we gonna have to spend on it?
We're gonna be spending double.
Yeah,
We're
right?
gonna be spending for the paper edition and the digital edition.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore.
Exactly. I just don't understand the logic there.
Right.
And now there's two on the digital side. There's two versions.
Right.
There's there's a mass market edition that's in the Marvel app,
Right.
and then in the Comixology app, it's there's the parental advisory edition, the R-rated edition.
It's just the original edition.
Yeah, which is the original. Although each of these have been both fully recolored and re-lettered
Right.
as well. There has just been a lot of issue that's happened regarding the changes that are made in the mass audience edition.
Yeah.
So, dude, your stand.
Well, my thing is, basically where we butted heads is because there's a couple of panels there. This is the story in Miracleman number 2. It was released about 2-3 weeks back.
Yeah.
Written by Alan Moore,
The original writer.
the original writer, with art by Gary Leach. This is, I think, 82, 83. Something like that.
Really old.
And they released it. It was a British publication, and there's hardly any censorship in Britain. So even in comics, when Liz Moran, Mickey Moran, Miracleman's wife, shows up, she's in her bed. She stands up.
She's
in
naked.
The yeah,
She's naked.
Absolutely.
In the original version.
In the original version.
Yeah.
So I found that was fine. I mean, it's not meant for kids back then, and it shouldn't be meant for kids now because it's Miracleman. It's always been an important comic that was not meant for kids, because when Alan Moore does comics, they're not meant for kids. They're really meant for adults. But what I didn't like was that when Marvel released the mass market edition, they decided to put shorts on Liz Moran. They basically wrapped her up. My thing is, I don't know if they asked permission from Gary Leach, and okay, Alan Moore is a given. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
But the original artist, for me, there should be a process of going through the original artist and saying, we're gonna tamper with your art. Because I get what JV's point is, which is that since it's work for hire, since Marvel already bought the publication, they can do with it as they basically please.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because for me, my thing is that yes, okay, they did tamper it in that edition, in that mass market edition, but there still exists a version where it's like uncensored. There's no no shorts on, and you still get your nip slips and all that, and so I feel that it's okay because you have two options.
Right.
You have your two options. You can go out for the regular mass market version, or you can have the PG. So it's like maybe Gary Leach isn't offended by it because there's still a version that exists, which is his vision.
For me, really, if he's not offended by it, it's fine. For me, as long as you went through it, because I don't know. Maybe it's because recently, as early as like 2-3 months ago, I watched the Image Revolution, and all these artists, these writer artists, guys like Lee and McFarlane, Portasio, all of these guys, when they went and left Marvel and put up Image, it was because they wanted control over their characters. They wanted total control and ownership.
Yeah.
Nobody was gonna tinker with characters that they made. If Liefeld made guys from Youngblood, they were not going to be tapped into other comics except the ones that he endorsed.
Okay.
So it's creative control.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a problem, especially for Miracleman, because there's been so many
ownership thing.
There have been so many cooks involved. There's been you've got Alan Moore, you've got Nick Anglo, you even you have Neil Gaiman as well. In terms of creative rights, I don't know how much
up there, man.
I don't know how much control that
the lawyers who know.
Yeah, I mean, people like Gary Leach, Steve Bissett, John Toodleben, and Alan Davis. You don't know how much control they have.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us probably knows either what the initial contract was. It meant you can tamper with my art.
Maybe.
In that sense, if it's gray areas, maybe because it was laws back then weren't as clear cut as they should be.
Maybe they resolved it already. I mean, I think all the rights are with Marvel right now. Maybe they did already consent with Gary Leach, because I guess we would have heard by now some outbursts by Gary Leach.
I guess so, yeah.
We would have heard something, So maybe I guess now the big thing here though is that what happens now, because I know there's a lot of controversial
because there are scenes about birthing and more graphic than those nips.
Exactly. So how are they gonna put that on in the mass market?
That's why I want to buy. Which will make you want to buy more Miracleman. Here, comment on see.
So I mean, for me, it's like, how do you do it? How is Marvel gonna pull that off? Because those are, I think, quintessential to the story.
Yeah. Alan Moore was not going to put it in the comic unless it was essential part of the story.
Yeah, he made it a point that this is an R-rated comic.
Yeah.
He was really going to dark.
Nobody was reading Miracleman back then. He made it a must-read. He made it so much of a must-read that all kinds of all those issues came up about ownership and stuff.
Right.
And it's only been resolved, 30 years after.
Right. I mean, I agree with you that if you're gonna, doing a mass market edition might be redundant, because you might be doing things that the creators, their vision will it will destroy their vision. I get where you're coming from in terms of the vision they're coming from, where they're going from. But I guess for me it's okay, because I know I'm not gonna buy that edition anyway. I'm gonna get the R-rated version. That's what I really want, because that's what I heard about. The best thing about Miracleman is all about. Right.
Yeah, I guess if maybe if the option was given in the first place on the Marvel app.
It didn't, I think that was their mistake with Marvel. Marvel never advertised that, guess what, there's two versions. They never advertised it, and they never even mentioned that, you can't, there's no bonus digital edition.
Right.
I mean, I think they should have clarified these things from the onset.
I agree.
They had all the time in the world to do this. It just doesn't make sense that they just slip it in there. So I mean, for me though, I guess for me, guys, the question I'd like to pose to you guys, if you're interested, is that is it really censorship? Is it censorship if you have two versions? One that's like completely the uncut version, and the one that's edited. Does that mean that is it still censorship? I don't know. I mean, for Jace it is. For me, it's like.
For me, it's censorship as long as you don't ask permission.
Okay.
I mean, if it's against what the original artist meant, the message you want to get across with the original writer, it's censorship. But if you ask permission, I'm good.
All right.
It's a slippery slope, because it's the whole thing about the rights of when the work for hires go and work for companies, do they basically say, okay, it's yours to do with big company, it's yours to tinker with?
I would think so.
I have nothing to do with it.
Actually, I think so. When it comes to like work for hire, especially when it comes to like what we were talking about earlier, like we were talking about like between a writer artist collaboration. In most cases, if you're starting from the ground up, I think it's like really you're conceptualizing a new character. Both parties involved, the writer and the artist, are completely the creators.
Right.
I think they both deserve, both a share of, the credit, right? But when it comes to a character that's established already, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And maybe Marvel and DC pull a fast one on you, that they say that any characters that that are involved with that,
Because
that's the right that's owned by the company already.
and those two, they will pull a fast one on you because they've done it in the past.
Yes.
They've screwed over creators in the past. I mean, we love them, but fact of life, it's how they've come to be these monolithic corporations. I mean, DC did it with Siegel and Schuster. Marvel's done it for Ghost Rider and some of these other characters.
I mean, they tried to do their point, to make it a point to protect their creators. They give them the credit where credit is due. But yes, there have been cases where they just haven't given the credit that some of these
proper
characters,
credit and proper compensation
that they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they've made it already to multimedia.
Right,
They're in
right.
movies, they're in video games and stuff.
Yeah,
and yet
yeah.
these creators are getting shortchanged. I mean, it's only been a couple of years that in DC, Superman's played by Siegel and Schuster with
Right.
special participation,
Yeah.
special permission from the Siegel family.
Yeah.
And Bob Kane gets all the credit for Batman, but
Exactly.
most of it is Bill Finger.
Yeah.
Bill Finger will never get the credit.
Yeah.
He's been dead for 40 years.
There you go. Although you gotta give kudos to Marvel, they do give reference to the original creator of Miracleman, Nick Angle.
Nick Angle, yeah.
They, I think the big two are being more careful.
They should.
It's
They
just
really should.
they,
In the world where we are right now, creators wield a lot more power.
oh yeah,
And we have to, although I was not a fan when those guys went up and did Image, now you have to give them proper credit because they did a lot to help the industry. And to help their co-creators.
yeah. I mean, Marvel and DC, they're well aware that these creators are their bread and butter, and to screw around with them.
If they can, they will.
Yeah, but they know, they learned. I think they've learned a bit more in the past, from the past mistakes. So, you do see them getting contracts for these creators, for these writers, for these artists.
Yep.
So, hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah.
So, hey, anyway, if you feel strongly about this topic, drop us a line. Make a comment or something.
Comment, yeah.
Yeah, just let us know. All right.